with each year passing by, I had gotten to a point where I felt like we need an action plan for retirement, how we are going to make some major decisions in future. We have almost 3 year old, so um, how to set him up for future success, all of that. So, and we had plus like funds in our savings account for sitting there for a long time. So all of that being said, needed a plan for
Mm.
future.
Yep.
And yep, I think it was immensely helpful. It was a gradual process, needed a lot of like breaking the mold inertia, getting out of that zone into like, let's get everything started and automated. And
Yep.
thankfully we are there now. So
That's amazing to hear.
since then, I have started like, I started my first Roth IRA. I already had a rollover IRA. I started one, a UTMA account for my son. I started my own brokerage account. That's more recent one. I'm still funding it with my
Yep.
savings gradually, simply because I'm not so comfortable, transferring $20,000 in a single go. So, but I keep a close eye on things. I'm doing a lot of research before I invest into anything at all, and I also like try to plan out when I'm going to review the budget, how much spending do I need to do, where we need to cut off things, and if I have to move things around from
Sure.
like one index fund to another and all of that. So
Yeah.
we're
That's amazing. So you came in basically without a plan and you
Mhm.
graduated with a plan that's makes you confident, clear in your direction, right?
Right.
Th-
I think one area where I'm struggling, and I think I mentioned this earlier, is figuring out, like a, like will, trust.
Will and trust.
And
Yep.
it's
Gets
a
a lot of
major,
people.
yeah, it's a major issue for me and my husband, because mainly because how, he sees things like, my husband Scott likes to believe everything will work out for the best. And
He just assumes that, hey, don't need the trust, don't need the will, we're good.
he's also of the point of view that I don't want to think about what happens if one of us is no longer around. And
Yeah, yeah, I get
I'm
that. It
so
makes it's a pretty
yeah.
normal response. What kind of conversations have you guys had?
So I have been very outspoken about how I want to set up, our will together. And
Hmm.
yeah, we are looking into somebody who can actually just, help us talk through this.
Yep,
Um,
yep.
and we have one child together, and
Hmm.
so far there's no plan of having any more children. I want to make sure that he's set up pretty financially secured. So um, I was so my point of view is that I want to make sure everything goes to my son. That's whatever I came into this into my marriage with my husband, and he sees that as, well, what about me? Where am I in this equation? So I was able to relent a little bit and like, okay, you know what? So just an example of when I was setting up beneficiaries for my 401k, which is a pretty big part of my own personal wealth.
Sure.
Um, I set up my son as 75% of the total amount, whenever whatever it is in future, and my husband as 25%. My point of view is that listen, you already have your own retirement accounts, you have your own personal wealth, your skill set, you have a job, you have a career, you can look after yourself. Our son
Yep.
is a child, and things are becoming increasingly difficult for the next generation in the current economic environment. So I want to make sure that he has that generational wealth, something that's already there. And there is a concern about, if anything were to happen to me, and I'm the pri- I'm the primary in the bread earner for my family.
Hmm.
So how will things change? And I'm pretty practical in these matters. Like, okay, then you can't live in the big house. You'll have to sell and move to a smaller establishment. Don't think twice about it.
Yeah.
And he was like, no, I would try to make things work. So all of that being said, it's like, and plus he also doesn't want to talk about it, that
Sure.
I don't
Sure.
want to think about what happens if one of us is not around.
It's a tough situation
Yeah.
to talk about for sure. It's good that it's honorable that you're thinking about your son in that regard because that's important. It's definitely important. So obviously there's a lot that you guys have done so far. Obviously, wills and trusts are a big piece of that week 13 in particular. What in the beginning versus now have you seen as the biggest adjustment for as you guys as a family?
I think managing our expenses, to begin with, we never did like, major, like, we don't spend thousands of dollars on vacations or anything of that sort, unless somebody's getting married and we have to go and
Yep.
attend. I would not take a personal trip anywhere. Or, like something where I just need to support somebody in whatever regards. Uh, but still, we are trying to eliminate a lot of unnecessary expenses. Um, Scott and I bought a townhouse when we moved to Minnesota from Wisconsin. We had a single family home, but we moved to a townhouse thinking that it will help us downsize. But in retrospect, I don't think it's a very nice financial decision.
Hmm.
So it may change in future depending upon where we are. I think the biggest adjustments has been in my mindset because of, like those small expenses that keep adding up.
Yep.
And now I'm trying to set personal goals. Like I'm not gonna buy anything in June unless something breaks down.
No spend June.
Yeah, it's essentially like, can I spend an entire month without spending anything, like not buying any clothes, any shoes, any cosmetics, personal use items. Like even if I have to travel for work, which I have to in this month, I
Yep.
would try to just get by without having to spend anything. And usually I use those excuse to, I need a new sunscreen or I need a new hat or I need whatever.
Sure, sure. I love that. I love that. So when you came into the program, I'm sure like, let's call it 6 months ago. What would you
Mhm.
tell somebody that was that's skeptical? That's I'm sure you were skeptical at one point or like, is this going to
Mhm.
work for me? What would you tell that individual?
They were probably what I would have been 10 years from now, having not taken any action. So they probably had, $400,000 sitting in cash, but
Yeah.
nothing, not sure what to do with it. Um, I would say for majority of instances that I saw, most of the people are younger than me, and it's not like something new piece of wisdom, but I would say starting early already always gives you a leverage.
Yep.
It's
Yep.
the fact that compounding will take if will be effective and it will give you results over a period of time. I wish I had started my Roth IRA 3 years ago, 3 4 years ago, but it's okay. I started last year,
We all
and
we all wish we started earlier.
yeah. So I think time is a big factor. I used my knowledge to start pushing my younger sister. She's 5 years younger than me to,
Amazing.
like get started. But there are other things going on, relationships not working out, there is careers not working out, you need to change jobs, you need to move across the cities. But this is like very important. Financial planning, having a plan for your retirement, having a plan for your life
Yep.
is something that it's a long-term goal you should not lose sight of. Otherwise we get to days by go by so quickly, and years have gone by without
Yeah.
taking any concrete action.
Crazy how fast time flies by. What would you tell somebody out there that's like nervous just to start in their finances in general? Somebody that's like, I don't know if like just it's I have time for it. I don't know if it's important. What would you tell that individual?
Again,
Besides that they're wrong.
uh, again, I don't see myself as a huge motivator. I don't like to impose my ideas on others. But if I speak to some friends who seem somewhat lost, and everybody's take on risk taking propensity, everybody's take on life is different. I'll give you an example. Last year I was talking to one of my very close friends, a very old friend of mine. She's just a few years younger than me, but she's in a whole different position. She lives in New York City. She's unmarried. She has she has an excellent job, and
Mhm.
um, the thing is, she wants to move forward in life, but because she's using those excuses, like I'm not married yet, so I don't want to relocate to a tier two city and buy a house, even if
Mhm.
you say buying a house is a good investment and I should do it now. Or somebody like my sister, or even this friend of mine, I told them both, start a 529 account if you want to have children ever. And they're like, why? That child does not exist. So why should I do that? And I get their point of view, where it's coming from. But the fact is, everybody's state of mind is different. They want to do different things. At least I pushed my friend to take some action. she started out like she had a Roth IRA. I told her, like, if you're not comfortable buying a house in United States because you're not married yet, and that's another, like, excuse that she
Mhm.
had, like, go and buy a house in India where your
Yep.
parents can help you out. And she did that. She said, "Yeah, I think I have an opportunity. The same building where my parents live, there is a condo available." She invested in that. She found a very good deal, by the way. So I was very happy for her.